I'll call the meeting to order. It's our February 6th special agenda meeting, discussion meeting, and let's see. First of all, make sure everybody silences their phones or otherwise turns them off or something. Our city administrator, Luke, is out of town, so our deputy city clerk will be standing in for him. And this program's being televised, and we don't do a roll call at 5 o'clock. So with that, we'll kind of proceed into our agenda-setting agenda. On staff appearances, the first one noted is Jen Baker, but I don't, I know Jen won't be here, and was anything provided to you, Bob?
Yep.
All right, Bob, do you want to read Jen's report then?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
The library has been staying quite busy. We finished up our spring cleaning and continue to shift and shake things up. We again appreciate everyone's support and patience as we work through learning and growing. Our winter reading program is still going on and will continue until March 1. There's still time to sign up, and we have 2 Saturday programs left to participate in before it's all done: embroidery and upcycled book art. We have 40 people signed up and have had great turnouts and feedback for the programs we've offered. 321 Art Studio will be here starting Wednesday, February 21st. The host artist, Amy, will provide a 7-week art program that will run every Wednesday from 10 to 2. There will be instructional time, followed by a lunch break, and then free time. Sign-up is required for this program as space and supplies are limited. With the start of the year comes the start of weeding and inventory. We will be spending the next several weeks doing this, and with that will come more shifting of new areas. Also, the library will be closed February 19th for President's Day, as well as March 1st for staff development. And she ends with, hope everyone enjoys this fake spring weather we're having.
Okay. Councilor Hanson, thanks for that report. Bob is on the library board, so he gets first-hand knowledge of these things also. Turning then to other staff appearances. Let's see, is there anything in particular, Lindsay, that you want to comment on at this point? No? All right, moving on then to the city attorney update. City attorney.
Just what's on the agenda, Mayor.
All right. Well, that's always good news. Telling us about any legal complications. Moving next to city engineering update. Josh?
Yeah, I'll keep my update brief because I know we have some other presentations to follow. Apologies to council for not getting the memorandum in the packet. We had some sick kids and sick myself, and it's just been a terrible end of January, but we got through. The big one, the West Industrial Park. So I think the big news to report is we worked through the CMAR process. So we received 4 letter proposals and then interviewed 3 firms. Worked with the selection committee, which consisted of Councilor Hess, Russ Siltman, and then obviously Luke. But we narrowed it down to Adolph and Peterson, who's with us tonight, Pat and Bill. I believe they're going to give a little presentation as well, but ultimately I think it was just the personal touch that they had in their presentations and just really communicated really well. And I think the committee responded very well to that. And so I think we have a good CMAR on board and excited to work with them. Some other updates on the industrial park. So I talked to the geotech environmental consultant today. The phase 2 investigation is complete. I don't have the report yet, but pending some unforeseen thing to come out of the air monitoring, they're doing some well monitoring or something like that. No anticipated issues as far as environmental on that project. So we did do a phase 1 that potentially, there could be some concerns, but I think we're in the clear from an environmental perspective.
It's impressive that they can do that, fortunately because we don't have the snow cover, right? Yeah.
100%. It's been a very favorable winter. I have a little concerns that we're not going to be ready for construction come April and all the frost is out of the ground and they're chomping at the bit, which would be unprecedented, but good problem to have. They've completed some additional soil borings as well. We do have some shallower bedrock, I think, than I was expecting, but overall, I think we're going to be able to work around that just fine. One thing I know is on the agenda tonight is the purchase agreement for Keith Johnson's property. we did work with NTS, the environmental consultant, to do a phase one, very similar to what we did on the industrial park. Basically doing a desktop review. Is there any concerns? Generally, it's in the clear. There's like 200 yards of that stockpile that creeps over on the northeast boundary about 20-30 feet. That's the only thing they flagged. So their de facto response is to do a phase two. I think it's generally a CYA, but overall I think it'll be a fine purchase and allow for further development. As far as overall roadway, we're working through design. I would say we're about halfway through preliminary design of that roadway. Working with staff to lock in kind of what we call the typical section, the width of the road and alignments and stuff like that. So overall, moving forward, we've narrowed in on a building configuration with our architect as well. And so now that we got these guys on board, that'll help refine that as well. So any questions on the industrial park? A lot of moving parts coming at you fast, so. But in our March update, I think we'll have a lot to talk about, so. West 3rd Avenue Alley, so that project was originally scheduled for 2024, working with Luke. I think we're gonna push that out a year, based on funding gap with the water plant and asking IRRB for some additional funds. That was one of the funding avenues we were counting on for the alley project, was through their infrastructure program. That rolls over in July, so the next cycle, and so the plan is to apply in July for those funds. Hopefully the water plant's going, that'll be kind of in the rearview mirror from an asking for money perspective. So we had our utility meeting on that as well. Minnesota Power feels like they can hold the poles while we dig the sewer, so that'll be interesting to see.
Will the lines go underground then at that point? Or?
They'll keep them aerial.
Oh, they will?
Yeah, and then there's 3 or 4 communications as well strung on the poles, so it's gonna be, interesting.
Yeah.
So, First Avenue reconstruct, so we still haven't heard on that LRIP grant. I would anticipate early March, so hopefully by the March council meeting we're aware of that. If successful, that would be potentially a 2025 project, but we are working to get our utility plans up to snuff so we can get certified by the Department of Health, which makes us eligible for their funding program. So
That'd be on the lead piping?
that's part of it, yep. But so they have so you go on the PPL, and when you submit your plans and specs for approval, you get higher priority on the project priority list. Basically, hey, we're shovel ready type thing.
Yeah.
And so the deadline for that is March 31st. So working towards that, obviously not bidding it anytime soon, but just getting, so check the box for them. CDBG projects, so we were awarded $60,000 through the county CDBG program for Central Avenue pavement repairs. So that's the crack repairs, and then looking at replacing 2 hydrants with that project as well that are just older, and we're digging in the road, so we might as well clean them up. So.
Yeah, I had, on that, when I looked over the contract documentation, I was a little concerned. To me, the raised up manhole covers are a pain every time going in. Will that be on the project agenda too? I don't look at that as a crack so much as a resetting of that caisson or whatever it is.
That's a good question. That is part of it. So
okay. All right.
A lot of the settlement is related to the service trenches, but there's also some at those castings. So they'll cut out a patch, they'll set that casting where it needs to be so it's not a speed bump.
Yeah.
So that fully...
It's entertaining to watch the solemn course everybody takes to go around them, but hopefully we can avoid that.
Then the last update I had, so we're also going through the CMAR selection process for the wastewater plant. I believe proposals are due not next week, but the following week, and then interviews to follow. I checked this afternoon, there's 3 plan holders, Magni, and then I forget the other 2. But, Rice Lake and Shanky or something like that. Forget exactly how that one's pronounced, but I think generally that's who we're expecting to bid on it, and we should have some good proposals there. So, to entertain any questions.
So many projects up in the air.
I know. It's a good problem.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, that's for sure. And I'm gathering like that First Avenue North project, when we decided to give that a lower priority for bond funding and everything, that in IRRB funding, that is why that project's a little more behind, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so, councilors, any questions or not? Okay, well, nice to have you diligently pursuing all of those options, Ann. So, let's see. So that's basically our staff reports and everything. Agenda questions or additions. First of all, welcome Adolph and Peterson representatives here. And I gather you're prepared to do a CMAR
Yeah.
presentation
Yeah.
to orient us. That's great.
Yeah, got some, hopefully enough information, but hopefully not too much at the same time, so.
Anyone this here?
Yeah.
Ooh, hard stuff.
I was gonna say, thank you.
Yeah, that's our marketing, you know, they got a
Yeah.
bit paper apparently, so. Mayor Gregor, thank you for having us, council members, city staff. My name is Patrick Sims. I'm the Director of Operations for Adelson Peterson. We're very excited to be here tonight. Went through the process of the RFP, interview, so on and so forth, and fortunate enough to be selected by the selection committee to move forward as your construction manager. So put together just a little bit of information real quick. First of all, just introduction to our team. David Grandstaff is Director of Pre-Construction. David's been in the industry for well over 25 years. Just a wealth of knowledge as far as estimating and budgeting on the front end of projects. So he's a huge asset for our team. Brandon Kellerman, Senior Project Manager, lives down in McGregor, Minnesota. He'll be up here on site overseeing the project. Tom Brunette, Senior Superintendent. Tom's been in the industry for 32 years now, I believe. So he's probably forgot about more construction than I'll probably ever know. So very, very knowledgeable. And then Bill Olson, our client manager, who is sitting behind me here as well. And Bill will stay engaged in the project through basically from now until the end, just to check in with Lucas from time to time, check in with the mayor, Josh, just to make sure things are still aligned and the expectations are being met that we're talking about. So a couple of things real quick. So Adelson Peterson, we're established in 1946. We've been in business for 77 years. Founded in Minneapolis as a headquarters. Founded by two Swedish immigrants, Gordy Peterson and George Adelson. They started remodeling basements from their basement in Minneapolis and grew the business from there. So, so very humble beginnings for sure. Our Minneapolis Midwest division, which we're involved in, Duluth, along with Minneapolis and our other regions, our revenue is about $1 billion per year. So we're a large company, large resources, be able to get the job done for you for sure, and financial stability that we're not going anywhere. So we'll take care of any problems if there is any, which we don't foresee that. We're very proud to say that 97% of our delivery method is CMAT risk. So we're very adverse in working for the city, working for our clients. So we have a good repeat client percentage. About 86% of our customers are repeat customers, and I think that goes a lot to say about our quality of the work that we do, and also just the output that we put out there for our clients. So a couple other things real quick. Local workforce, one of the things we talked about, and we know working up here in the range and whatnot, that local workforce is important. So we're going to try to reach out to as many locals as we can, not only subcontractors in the Aurora area, but just within 25, 50 miles, 100 miles, try to bring as many people as we can into work on this project to boost the local economy. Owner-focused services, that kind of summarizes our CM process. Owner focus just means that we're working for the city. We're looking for the most economical project, the highest quality that we can put out there for the city of Aurora. So the next one is our IIF culture, safety culture. I think at the end of the day, that really is a testament to how we bring our projects in safely. And our safety culture is a mindset not just on the job site, but how we go about everyday life. And I would say probably it was 4 or 5 years ago for me. I've been at the AMP for about 10 years now. About 4 or 5 years ago, this culture came into our organization, and it really makes you stop and think about when you're driving to work. If it's a foggy morning, right? Make sure headlights are on. Make sure your distance and following is safe. Working around the house, get on a ladder. You don't get on the top rung, right? Because safety is everywhere, and we're all involved in it, right? So this culture not only goes for our job sites, it goes for our office, and it goes to our homes. And we're very proud to say that we're going on 480 some days without an incident from a safety perspective through our entire region, and we're very proud to be able to say that. So we want to bring that safety culture to the project as well, and not only on the project, but we want to bring that culture to the city and to our subcontractors and help them be safe. So just a quick little map there, some of the projects that we've done in the past and kind of our footprint on northern Minnesota. And then also the one thing I don't have on here, but one thing that we're very proud of is our community involvement. The communities that we come to work in, we like to be involved into, we like to sponsor different organizations or events and stuff like that. Just a quick example, City of Chisholm, we're working for right now, building a public safety building. They had a splash pad that they were trying to get going. We donated some time, some labor to pour their concrete slab. So that's one way that we were able to give back to the community of Chisholm. So we're very proud of that. So
This is one of the support advisors for our local community group, Celebrate Aurora, and
Sure.
she's instrumental in helping to launch some of our community celebrations, so I'm sure you two can get acquainted then.
I'm sure we'll be talking. No, we're very, our tagline is, we build trust communities of people. We believe that, we live it every day. I know Bill's been with us for about 2 years now. He's learned that culture as well. And so we're very proud to say that we've become part of the community, and we're looking forward to do that. So I know that's a pretty fast summary of kind of who we are and what we believe in and for these projects and stuff like that. I know there was maybe some questions from the CM at risk delivery that maybe the city had some different questions. I don't know if some of those questions, if you want to ask some of that stuff, or if you have any questions on that delivery method, we can certainly answer those. Or if you have any other questions about Adelson Peterson
Or is the city, in a sense, being kind of a guinea pig for this form of structuring a major project like this, or how long and pervasive has CMAR, kind of been actually accepted out in the field?
I want to say, if my memory is correct, Adelson Peterson actually was one of the first construction managers to do a project for the state as a construction manager at risk. I believe that was in 1994 and 97, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So CM at risk is a delivery that's been used for years. It's tried and trusted. It's true. I mean, it is a true good process for the city. At the end of the day, to summarize it, we're the city's advocate, right? We work with the architect, the engineers, to make sure that the building that's being built is built correctly with a high quality of workmanship, high quality of materials, but yet at the lowest economical price, right? We've had some just brief conversations with Josh's counterpart Luke, Jake, just on how we can structure a bidding strategy, because we know we're going to be putting an entry road in, the cul-de-sac, utilities. Do we package that up with the building pad earthwork contractor so it's a bigger package? There's some efficiencies, we could cut and fill, some structural fill, stuff like that. And that's the kinds of things that we look at. We look at materials of the building, what's the best material? Do we bring in precast that trucks in from 250 miles away? Is that more economical than a local masonry building or something like that? So we run all of those different cost analysis, and at the end of the day, that's all the betterment of the building for the city. So.
Councilor Hess, you were on the selection committee. Anything to add, or?
No, we were impressed by their presentation that they given. And we were all on the same wavelength, so that worked out good, so.
There's a definite synergy with AP that just wasn't with the other two firms that we interviewed, and it just stood out above and beyond.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels right.
No, it's good to, you are experienced, and if you pick up on that, and, certainly appreciate from experience how valuable that is to be able to set that teamwork in action. Yeah, that's great. Other councilors, questions, or?
Say, Mayor, I have a quick question.
Yes, John.
Say, Dave, with all the projects going on along the range or around the range, do you have any concerns about getting the skilled laborers needed to complete the project?
Skilled labor has been a problem for quite a few years. And we look at bidding this project, getting this project out for bid early enough so you can gain the interest of local subcontractors and stuff like that, which you start to eliminate kind of that problem. To date, we have not had any labor shortage or labor project problems on any of our projects, so we've been very fortunate with that. We do solicit the subcontractors that have a good history in providing the labor and getting projects done for sure. But you know, I'm not gonna deny that labor is a problem, and it's something that we have to continue to work on.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sure we'll have more questions as the whole process unravels or unrolls.
Like Josh said, there's a lot of stuff being thrown at you, so it's you know, our goal through this process is as we get started to the pre-construction, get ready for bidding, and just how we conduct that business and how we, again, look out for the city's best interest. I think at the end of the day, you'll be impressed with the end result, so.
Well, thanks very much.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Any further questions of anyone? All right, if not, thanks very much, Pat.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome to stay around for the rest of the meeting, or,
Or depart.
yeah, we do have to, we'll take some action, I think, later on in the agenda on specifically that contractual issue, but in fact, do you have other pressing things that maybe when we get to the agenda, we should consider moving that up in the agenda?
We can move
Yeah.
it up if you.
Yeah, just in respect of your time and
Yeah.
things. Let's see, we still have a little time left. Let's see, Dan on Ayler's financial on the franchise fees. Do you want to just say
We
something
certainly
about
can,
all
yeah.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Dan Tinter with Ellers. I'm a municipal advisor. I did distribute for your reading pleasure both a memo that kind of outlines the process to date and has some more detailed information in it than what was included in the presentation. Since we only have a handful of minutes, I will kind of, if you want to skip to the page that says fee comparative analysis, that's probably where we can begin. While you're doing that, I'll just mention that you may recall that now in September we did a financial management plan for the city. As a part of that process, we talked about some areas where the city could realize some additional funding sources. You may remember specifically the two recommendations were to take a greater advantage of your investment earnings and then also to explore adjusting your franchise fee. So over the last few months, we've been working with the utility providers and collecting data and also looking comparatively at communities around you as to what their franchise fees are. What we did is we looked at 18 communities in and around the state that have a same or similar population and then looked at their franchise fees, and then we compiled them just with some basic statistics. So on the fee comparative analysis, you can see in those two, the green is the electric utility. And so you can basically see on average about $2.43, $3.13, $6.11, then for large commercial industrial on the electric franchise about $17 per month right now is what we're seeing on average across those 18 communities. If you look into the gas utilities in that purple color, you can see again the averages $2.30, $4, $7, just under $50 in class 3, just above $50 in class 4, and then kind of the same amount in class 5. If you go to the next slide, you can see what the recommended fee changes are. After completing the analysis, I had a conversation with the city administrator and we discussed what would be an appropriate change in the fee. And essentially what we attempted to do was to push the city's fees closer to all of the averages that we saw in the 18 community sample. So if you look in the green box, in the green table with the orange box, monthly fees, what we're recommending is $3 for residential, $4 for the non-demand small commercial industrial, $7 for the demand commercial industrial, and then the large commercial industrial, $25, which is essentially in between what you see for large commercial industrial and gas and electric, so we just kind of pick something in the middle. Also, given that there are so few large industrial users, and in fact in the electric utility there are none, having a larger fee would be advantageous because when someone actually locates the community that would be a large commercial industrial user, that fee is just new to them. It's always existed. We're not increasing it drastically for a business. When you look at the gas utilities, very similar, and you may notice what we attempt to do between the two utilities is to treat them similar. So that's why the fees essentially match based on the classes. Now, the classification between electric and gas is not always perfect, but we do try to align them. They do generally fall in the same categories, but not always. And so you can see again, $3, $4, $7, and $25 for the basically residential, the smaller commercial industrial, and then the larger commercial industrial. Between the two, if you were to adjust these fees, you would go from raising right around $25,000 to $30,000 a year in franchise fees to just under $71,000 in franchise fees. You may recall in our conversation about the FMP, part of the reason to increase the franchise fee is the council was sensitive to the property tax rate in the community, and a way to essentially address that property tax rate would be to diversify your funding sources. So if you can raise money from other sources, you would not have to adjust your property tax levy up to make up the difference. The other thing that is critical in franchise fees is they also are applicable to tax exempt properties. So properties within the community that receive services from the city do not pay property taxes as a matter of law, but they do pay things for like water, sanitary sewer utilities, and in this case, franchise fees. So this is a way to capture more revenue from those tax exempt properties that are receiving services from the community. At this point in time, your franchise fees go to your general funds. They've generally been used to defray property taxes or to support additional costs that would be related to operating the city. The last thing I will just say, if you go to the next slide, is we just did a quick 10-year projection to see what it would look like. Right now, we've assumed a 2% year-over-year increase in the fees. That is fairly typical. We do recommend those fees get adjusted from time to time. You do have to update the ordinance to change them, so some communities will do them biennially, so just a larger fee increase every 2 years. And then right now we've assumed no growth in user accounts, so anything on top of this, if more homes are built, if businesses locate in the industrial park and you have additional meters, then we would see growth in this fee based on that growth in the user count in the franchise. But basically right now, you would on an annualized basis in 2024, you would raise about $70,000, and then if you were just to have those modest increases year over year by 2036, it'd be closer to $90,000. The one thing to keep in mind, if the council decided to move forward, there are kind of a few steps on the next slide. You would have to kind of let the franchise holders know, the two utilities, that you're thinking about changing the fees. You would have to update your ordinances to impose the fee and increase them. And then once that happens, you notify the franchise holders, and then they, depending on what the ordinance says, usually get 60 to 90 days to actually implement the fee. And then once the fee's implemented, they start taking remittance of the fee, and then they forward it to the city, usually on a quarterly basis. So you'd probably be anywhere between 90 to 120 days away from actually getting the increased fee. But it's just something to keep in mind.
Certainly it would be a welcome additional source of revenue. If my math's correct, I think if we got $70,000 a year, we might be able to shave off at least 7 levy points that we'd otherwise have to impose, realizing that there are demands all over the place. But that's big money in our budgeting process, right? So, let's see, any other, realizing time's short, any questions? Councilor McCloskey online, any questions?
Well, I had a quick question. So the $3 residential fee, would that pertain to, that's just a flat fee? So if somebody just has a fireplace on it, say, versus somebody who heats their house with gas, it would be the same, $3?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yes, that's correct. It's just a flat monthly fee by account. There are more complicated structures if the city wanted to opt for them, where you can charge based on kilowatt hour and therm respectively, or you can do it as a percentage of the overall bill. Generally, cities like to use the flat account fee because it's a far more predictable revenue source. Because your monthly average number of users doesn't typically fluctuate too drastically over the course of the year, whereas people's habits with respect to how they use some of these services may.
Right, good question though.
What about a situation, let's say an individual property has 2 electric meters? Would that be considered one account, or would they get?
It would typically be 2 accounts, so it would be by
So they would pay 2 franchise fees?
2 franchise fees,
Okay.
yes.
All right, well, I believe our time has kind of run out, and I think this is an interesting issue that's going to be beginning the exploration, but we'll probably have some further discussions and look forward to your advice as we struggle with that then. So, Deputy Clerk, is there anything that we've missed for this segment? All right, if not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the agenda setting meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by, moved and supported by Councilor Hest, moved by Councilor Godey. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. John, I don't think we needed to take a roll call vote on that.
No.
So
I haven't taken them.
I think we,
No, I'm good with it.
all right, good, we didn't want to. We're still getting used to this technology. So we stand adjourned on that meeting.